Welcome to Sleeveless Tuesdays on 51 Gaps, putting teeth into education reform. I am your host, Eric Lindell. Today we will be talking about the next three questions about time, which are: is time an illusion or is it real? Why is time one-dimensional, and is time travel possible? And as usual, we will be addressing these questions 4, 5, and 6 about time from the standpoint of my own ideas, as original as I can possibly get them. And of course, that doesn't mean nobody else got there first. It just means I got there by myself, standing, as always, on the shoulders of giants. Okay. Is time real or just an illusion? Now, this question comes up about so many things. Does time really exist? Does consciousness exist? Does society exist? Does transcendence exist? You have to examine the question itself. It depends as much on what you mean by existence and illusion as on what you mean by time. Okay. The gold standard for existence, if there is such a thing, is material objects. An apple exists, if anything does. Time, by contrast, it has a distinct ontological status. Time unfolds, or time elapses. Okay, events unfold, material objects exist, and space has an ontological status. Pardon the background noise. I don't know what the hell they're doing out there. They're digging a mole hole or something? Time has a unique ontological status, and we can say that it elapses. Time is a model. It is neither real nor unreal. It's a representation of the apparent sequence of events, sequentiality of events, and it is also a way of gauging the duration of events. So we should be talking about events and their temporal qualities. Instead, we end up talking about this abstraction of time, which frankly eludes both our grasp and our vocabulary. And it's no wonder, because the language really did not evolve to discuss things that neither exist nor occur. Though I think we can get a much better handle on physics and on everything if we talk about the unfolding of events themselves and not this abstract hypothetical continuum in which they are ostensibly unfolding and which ostensibly continues to elapse even in the absence of an unfolding event. Okay, so with that in mind, we will move on to question number 5, which is, drumroll please, why is time one-dimensional? Okay, glad you asked. We thought you would never ask. Time is one-dimensional for the simple fact that it couldn't possibly have any other number of dimensions. You have this renowned principle of contradiction, okay? This traffic light, it can't be yellow at the same time that it's not yellow, okay? If you had 2 dimensions of time, then it could be yellow in one dimension of time and not yellow in another dimension of time at the same time and without contradiction. That is absolutely nonsensical and incoherent, and thank God our universe does not work like that. If it did work like that, I'm not sure what the concept of universe would even mean. Okay, from what we know of a universe, you have a Big Bang. And the Big Bang is par excellence a function of time. Everything implied by the Big Bang, everything comprising a ramification of the Big Bang is a function of time. And as always, this assumes time from the standpoint of a single observer. Okay, we're not getting into relativistic considerations. such as arise when you have two or more observers. That complicates matters considerably, but I think it's a good idea to get a handle on time in the simplest case first, because I don't even think we have that. I think the equations of special and general relativity are extremely powerful, but it's interesting how much about the fundamentals of time are overlooked. And this facet of time as one-dimensional is fundamental not just to time, but to everything, to the underlying epistemic foundation of logic, existence, and physics. Okay, we'll talk about what that means. Time is one-dimensional. You can't even say that time is one-dimensional by definition. Ordinarily, when you say something is true by definition, you're saying that it is so foundational, like a triangle is three-sided. The three-sidedness is so foundational to the concept of a triangle that it's stipulated in the definition of the term. So that if you want to argue with someone who claims a triangle has three sides, you're going to have a very difficult, if not impossible, time doing so if they have definition on their side, because definition is almost as foundational an epistemic platform as you can possibly have. But there's one exception. That exception is the dimensionality of time. Why can time's dimensionality of one not be the result of a stipulation in its definition? This is why. In order for a definition to serve its function as the ultimate arbiter of the meaning of some word, it must exist in one-dimensional time. Ideally, you will have a unique definition for a word, and when you have like a really rigorous, thought system, like Euclidean geometry, for example, things have one definition. It's not like natural language where everything is muddled in multiple meanings and all that kind of stuff. No. But in order to have just one definition, the idea of a definition itself must exist in one-dimensional time. If it existed in two-dimensional time, the definition could be one way in one dimension, the other way in the other dimension, and it would be a big mess. So what we're going to be looking at soon is that if there is a second dimension of time, then that second dimension would have to define another universe. So please stay tuned for that. That is our brief little treatise today on why time is one-dimensional, and that is question number 5, I believe. And that brings us to question number 6 of our top 10 questions about time. Is time travel possible? Okay, and this has a relatively simple answer. Okay, time travel is mainstream pseudoscience with more holes than quantum foam. Of the many angles of attack on this, the first is asking what in blue blazes you might mean by time travel. Well, let's look at space travel, okay? Space travel means there's space that already exists without you in it. Let's say, Sri Lanka. Assuming you're not in Sri Lanka now, and if you are, cheers. When you travel there, it's still the same space, except for now, you are in it. It's just my luck. We have a fire alarm. My life, honestly. Okay, fire alarm is off. I guess they spritzed it out in a hurry. Thank you to whoever did that. Okay, space travel means there's a space that already exists without you in it, and then you go there, it's still the same space, except now you are in it. Simple. Try to define time travel along analogous lines, and what happens is, let's say you go back to yesterday. Is it the same? Wait a second. If you go back to yesterday, is it the same as yesterday, except now you're in it? In other words, which you is there in yesterday? Is it the now you that's in yesterday, or is it the yesterday you that's in yesterday? Okay. The conclusion of all this is going to be that none of it makes any sense. If the now you is in yesterday, where is the boundary between the now you and the yesterday context? The skin, everything outside of my skin is yesterday, but everything inside of my skin is me now. Okay, is there a discontinuous jump in the time coordinate of the topmost skin layer and the surrounding air? Okay, it doesn't make a great deal of sense. There is so much background noise. I hate living in a big city. Then again, this mic is directional, so you may not even be hearing it. If there's a lot of background noise, but the directional mic makes it impossible to hear, then is there really background noise? If this is a yesterday context where you were before, does the now you who travels back to it bring a memory of it when you time travel back? Or is the now you experiencing it for the first time, just like you did the real first time, except this first time is really the second time, but you don't realize it because you didn't bring a memory with you? Did you forget? Anyway, these are rhetorical questions to highlight the idea that time travel is pseudoscience, science fiction, weekly tabloid copy, and Joe Rogan interviews all rolled up in one, but it has little place in a serious discussion of time, physics, and all that kind of stuff. Now, pardon me. Traveling back to yesterday should require duplicating all of its features, including having no memory of it. In this sense, time travel is not so much impossible as it is unverifiable and hence meaningless. This unverifiability is characteristic of all ostensible time travel, and including the present moment. How do you know that you're not here and now solely because of someone's time machine shenanigans in another place and time? You would have no way of knowing, even if you were oscillating rapidly between the distant past and distant future. You'd have no way of knowing, even if you were jumping discontinuously among random points in past and future. Fodder for thought. Let me repeat that again. Even if you were jumping discontinuously among points selected at random from past and future, you would have no way of knowing. Okay? Those are questions 4 through 6. We will be back with questions 7 through 10. Hopefully sooner rather than later. It promises to be more fun and theatric, so please stick with us. Thank you for watching.